I've remembered what it was that I wanted to tell you. You'll be able to watch us Christmas Day. And that's what reminded me, was that I used to watch the kids in hospital open the presents. We're actually going to film Christmas morning. Hello, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, good night, God bless. I just keep saying it. I don't plan on saying it, to be fair. Anyway, so been away for a while, I'm back. Not been 100%, you know. We can say that, can't we? Get to a certain age, not being 100%, that's okay, that's quite normal, I think, you know. We're all different, aren't we? Depends on the mileage, doesn't it? It's all right saying you're as fit as a fiddle and you've only got 5,000 miles on the clock, even though you might be in your 60s, 70s, 80s. Yeah, I've got a lot of miles on the clock. I'm 67 next April. Not doing so bad. Not this tremor, etc. As you'll have seen on the last video, I said I'm shaking a lot today. What was actually happening, because I'm type 2 diabetic, to fall into bits, was my blood sugars were falling, but I recognised it quite quickly. Sorted it out with a cup of tea and a chocolate biscuit. I know I shouldn't have chocolate biscuits, but it is Christmas. And digestive biscuits and rich tea biscuits, all well and good. But I dunk my biscuit in my tea, and I don't mind that taste, you know. In with Yorkshire tea, I don't mind it. And digestives and rich tea, if they break off, even though you're supposed to have a correct angle of approach, if they break off and drop in your tea, you can't get them out. Not very easily. You need a spoon. And if you've got a tremor, that can be difficult. I just tend to stick my hand in, get it out of there quick as I can. You know. Anyway, it's Christmas coming up, isn't it? Now, where are we today? Well, it was the 8th of December yesterday, wedding anniversary. Me being the true romantic, of course, got my wife Cheryl, as you'll have probably seen on the last video, a box of licorice salts and 4 bottles of baby sham. I pushed the boat out a bit with a baby sham anyway. Anyway, she liked them. We don't really do wedding anniversaries. I mean, we had a lovely wedding and all of that. But, you know, 19 years later, we don't think, oh, today's a special day. We were married 19 years ago, blah, blah, blah. We don't do that. We tend to just say happy anniversary and get on with the rest of the day. We're both busy. Everybody's busy out there, but, you know. But I guess it is nice just to remember, recognise the day. Anyway, Christmas is coming up. not too far away now. Oh, yes, wanted to show you this, if I can show. So, our very first Christmas card. I thought I'd show you that only because it was the very first one we've got this year, 2025. Can you see that? Yep, good. So it's a nice card. That was from my brother and his wife. They live in London. I think she is a Londoner, born and bred. My brother is not, of course. He grew up with me and my sister. Yeah, but he does a reasonable London accent. He's picked up some bits of it, you know. So he's lost his, well, some of his Yorkshire accent. It depends, I guess, if he's spent enough time around me or other people of a Yorkshire descent, then he'd soon pick it up again. You do, don't you? I pick accents up. But anyway, lovely card from him and his wife. And he showed you it because it was the first one. But then we got another one this morning. So card number 2. Don't worry. Over the Christmas period, I'm not going to show you every card we get. I mean, we'll probably get 20, you know. And that was this one. This one has got glitter on the front. I remember as a child, we'd get Christmas cards. They were always kept from the year before, and we'd cut them up and use them as labels, yeah, right on the back of them. Labels for gifts, Christmas gifts. But of course, the other thing we did, and I'm sure you did, with a card like this one, particularly a card like this is covered in glitter. Bit of glue, one of them tubes of glitter, and sprinkle on, and then tap it off. It's quite like doing those. I don't know how old it would have been, actually. Younger than 5. Yeah, what I should have mentioned was this card was from Tracy, Cheryl's cousin. She's married to David. She's wrote Dave on here, but I thought he'd like to be called David, whatever. He's an interesting story. David, his background. His father is one half of Cusworth. So Cusworth, the engineers, motor engineers, you know, things like Sierra Cosworth, no, Esco Cosworth, that, you know. Anyway, fast domestic cars, put it that way. And they're also, their engineering was used in racing. Our course was dragged up in Hull. I say dragged up in Hull. I certainly grew up poor. I've spoken about that before, you know. Large family, stepbrothers, stepsisters, and a sister. Half the family I consider brothers and sisters, including me, sister of course I do, and the other half I don't really. You know what it's like growing up in a family like that. It can sometimes be difficult, and it was difficult. It's a funny thing, I didn't grow up in a particularly religious background, you know, that wasn't the point. But my mum, to get rid of me on a Sunday, would ship me along to the local church to, what was it called? Sunday, was it Sunday? No. Do you know, I can't remember what it was called, and actually I think it was on a Saturday. But anyway, the kids would go to church and you would spend the day in church doing crafts or playing table tennis or perhaps pole and all that sort of thing. It was a bit like a youth club, as I remember it, but for younger kids. First time I went, she was tidying me up in the hallway as you first go in. And she said, if they ask what religion you are, Michael, Sunday name, Michael, tell them you're C of E, Church of England. Okay. And I did remember that. And I was asked that by the vicar or whoever it was. And I remember him saying, and what religion are you, Michael? Sunday name again. Sunday school, that's what it was called, Sunday school. Church of England, right, and off we went. I don't think it would have mattered, you know, what I'd have said. They'd still been allowed in, you know. Anyway, I went twice, that was it. Wasn't for me because I was stuck indoors. That wasn't the idea. I like to be outside playing football and climbing walls, you know, that sort of thing. But I do remember this, look, and this is a memory that sticks in my mind. When I came out of church, I remember looking up at the skies and thinking, oh, God's watching. Maybe there'd have been a bit of a sermon or something, I don't know, a bit of a teaching. And I looked up at the sky and oh, God's watching. And all the way home, I kept thinking, you're going to have to behave yourself. And I kept looking up, you're going to have to behave yourself. Anyway, within half an hour, I'd forgotten about it. And off I went back to being a lad from Hull. There's a word for it, but I won't say it. It's some kicker from Hull, anyway, or elsewhere. But anyway, so that's my sort of very early memory about that. So what was Christmas like? Well, I guess mostly like yours. It was traditional. We made Christmas trimmings. I don't know what they call them, but there was the paper that had sticky glue at one end, and you licked it and you made a ring inside another ring, and you ended up with a length of trimming, really, which would be sellotaped to the ceiling in, I guess, what we call the parlour. We had 2 rooms downstairs. The front room was for best, and that had a sofa, a coffee table, and a china cabinet and a fireplace. I remember that. And at Christmas, Mum would put the tree in there. And she would open the door and say, there's the tree, and then close the door and say you can't go in. There was also a bowl of fruit put out on the coffee table. Yeah, I remember that. My elder sister and a boyfriend was allowed in there. We didn't have a television. If you see what I mean, but anyway. So I guess they would sit and chat, you know, maybe old hands. But then the other room, the parlour, which actually did go on to the tiniest of kitchens. You couldn't even call it a kitchen, really. It had a big old porcelain sink. Mum used to put us in there, put me in there, and to give me a bath, yeah. And it had a stove. It also had a little electric boiler, water boiler, over the sink so she could get a bit of hot water. And it had a larder, a pantry. You know, one of those that you see everywhere. People are paying a fortune for them now. It's a freestanding larder, painted blue or orange, as I remember. I think ours was blue. Can't really remember. But that was it. That's all that was in there. Yeah, that was it. But the back room, which I guess you'd call the parlour, that had a big fireplace with a coal fire. A little cupboard next to it built in when they built the house. Some shelves on the other side of the chimney breast. A black leather sofa with orange cushions. Yeah, it wasn't leather, plastic sofa, but and a table, dining table, and I'm guessing 4 chairs. It was one of them that dropped down, you know. Yeah, that was it. Oh, there was the gas cupboard door was in there, the gas and electric cupboard door. Now, there must have also been something near a windowsill, because it had a window in that room, because in 1966, my dad borrowed enough money from 2 of his friends to get the tiniest of televisions. It must have been like a 12-inch screen, black and white. So, yeah, because we watched the World Cup, England, and the moon landings. I remember that. Yeah, them 2 programs. The gas and electric cupboard, now, he had your gas meter in there, but he also had all your electrics that, the main power cable came into the house, and then a little fuse cupboard with used-to-use cable, copper cable for fuses. That was in there. Why do I tell you that? Because he managed to put in there a tin bath, well, a big steel bath, a rolled bath, and I remember sitting in that to have a bath, and next to me on the left or the right was all the electrics, and I'm splashing about, and I remember looking and thinking, ooh, and I think I was told to be careful. Anyway, that was soon taken out, as you do. We had a back. So the backyard, that had, well, we had an outdoor toilet, outside toilet, yeah, and a coal shed. And the actual yard itself, not like you have in America where you have big grassed areas, and you call them the yard. We call them gardens. I'm sure you do. I've watched too many American films. Anyway, that was concrete. Gosh, it was tiny. A little bit concrete area. You could fit an old washing up bowl and a newt in it, because I used to do that when we went newting in the local quarry. Anyway, so that was that coal shed toilet in the backyard. My mum would keep out there a wringer, that's a wringer, for drying clothes, and she had like a twin tub, but it didn't have the spinny bit. It was just the washing machine bit of it, and that would stay out there with a sheet over it, waterproof sheet. I remember that. Mine and my brother's bikes were also going in the backyard as well. So, yeah. Anyway, who would be in it, in that back room at the most? Me, my sister and my brother. Sometimes, quite often, my older sister, who's now the oldest sister in the family. Who else? My mum, of course. Sometimes an auntie, they would drop in. And then sometimes my dad, but not at the same time as my aunties. And sometimes my Nana Pickering. No, that's not right, or is it? Yeah, Nana Pickering, who lived just around the corner from us. But there was never my dad and my mum's relatives in there at the same time. Feuding families. Yeah, Christmas though, going back to Christmas, that's what we started talking about. I'll try and put some photos up of the sort of house where I grew up in, up until being 11. Christmas, I don't have any photos at all from when I was, well, I've one with my sister from when I was a child, but it's not Christmassy. It's one of those where at least once when you was a child, you went to the local photographer studio and sat on a box in your best, your Sunday best, and had your photo taken. Yeah. So, yeah, don't have any photos at all, really, at Christmas time. But, I mean, I guess it was really typical, We did get presents. Now, I've sort of, I guess, three main memories. The first thing is my oldest sister, who doesn't live too far away from me now, she got a job, a carer. She was at a care home, children's home, and she got a job. And this year she bought me the game Mousetrap, if you remember Mousetrap. So I have that as a memory. Later on, I remember getting a bike, and I think I've mentioned before that bike after Christmas was in and out a pawn shop, I think Mum used to pawn the bike to pay the HP that month. I think that's what used to happen. But I actually had that bike until I was probably 17, and I think I got it when I was around 10 years old. So I had it a long time. It was a little red racing bike. Yeah, a Viking it was. I've never heard of it, but it was bought local shop. Other memories was one year, and I who hasn't done this? Christmas Eve, went to bed, and couldn't sleep. There was me, my brother, and my sister. We all used to sleep in the same double bed. I used to joke that our eider-down or duvet, you took off the bed in the morning and wore it for school because it used to be a duffel coat, Yeah, the only duvet with toggles on it to fasten it up. That wasn't true. We had those Indian blankets, scratchy as you like, if you remember those. But anyway, yeah, so we all slept in the same bed as kids, couldn't sleep. And I'm sure it was my brother, who was, I think he's a year and a half older than me, maybe 2. But he decided in the middle of the night to get us up and out of bed. Now, I don't know what the middle of the night was. I don't know what time it was. It could have well been 6 o'clock in the morning. But laid out in the front room in the parlour was the presents, What did we used to get? Again, typical, apple and an orange, a compendium of games, a colouring book and some crayons. And then your main present, whatever that might be. Sometimes it wasn't a great deal. I also remember getting a battery-operated train, but quite a big one, that would, if it drove into something or went into something, it would spin round and go the other way. So that might have been that year's. I can't remember anything of what my sister and brother got. I can't remember any of those. I did get, I don't know why, a printing set. I wasn't very good at spelling, never have been. But you could. It was a compositor's set. I only know that now because I've learned that word 100 years ago, but a compositor's. So there were little rubber blocks with a letter on, and you could line them up in this stamp, put it into the ink, and then stamp on paper. I do remember stamping all over the white skirtings and architrave and doors myself. Yeah, so that might have been a bad idea of either, well, probably my dad's idea, I don't know. But anyway, I thought it was great. And I also got, now do you remember these? What's it called? Styrofoam. So you got a piece of foam, the stuff that they used to put up on ceilings, polystyrene. You used to put them on your ceiling to make it attractive. And then if ever there was a fire, that used to drop all, flames onto the carpet, which used catch fire, burn the house down. Anyway, so a sheet of that, and then a battery-operated handheld device, and it was like a horseshoe, plastic, red, and across the top of it was a piece of wire. And that wire used to get hot, run from the batteries, and you could cut through the polystyrene, and make things. I remember getting that. That was a good present. Yeah. Anyway, yeah, woke up. I went off topic there. We got up ridiculously early, and we opened all our presents. And I remember Mum coming down, and she was upset about that, because it would have been a big day. Yeah. I will say this, look, it is true we grew up poor, but my mum loved bingo. And we, like I guess many cities, had in the town centre amusement arcades. Our local one was called Sunspot. And you could, the women could go, and it was women, sorry, but it was, could go in there and play bingo. Like you do at the seaside, the colour number out and you move a tap. And I do remember one year my mum winning most of mine and my sister's presents in that bingo place. You won, you got a ticket. If you got a lot of tickets, you could get some presents, that sort of thing. Anyway, that wasn't this year. But yeah, she was upset that we'd opened the presents because it was a big day for her. It is for parents, isn't it? You realise that. It's a big day for you as a parent as it is for the child, a kid who's opening them. You've worked hard, spent some money on presents. You want to see your children open them, don't you? But anyway, we were up early and opened them. Chocolate as well. Selection boxes, they were always in there. Yeah, that sort of thing. I did get an aircraft model, one of these Airfix models you could put together. I think it was an American Starfighter jet aircraft. And I remember putting it together, but there was a lad down the street, and I can't remember his name. But there were only the only foreigners in the street. Yeah. I didn't understand then like I do now, but of course, he didn't get any Christmas presents. I think they were from Pakistan. My sister would know, and my youngest sister. But I remember making this model and then taking it round and saying you can have this for Christmas. It must have been a few days later. I didn't understand that they didn't celebrate Christmas, at all. But anyway, his mum thanked me, which again was nice. So, yeah. Yeah, what else did I get up to? I'm trying to think through the Christmases. I remember one particular year, it was, I think the year my mum died. I was 11 when Mum died. And I think in that year, my dad took us away from the family, me and my sister, and moved us to a caravan on the East Yorkshire coast. I'm not 100% sure why, but anyway, he did. But came to Christmas, and he gave us both. Now, I think it would have been £1, but I'm half guessing that it might have been £2, £3, don't know. But he drove us to a shop, which was a little bit like Poundland or Pound Stretcher, that sort of shop, except this was more of a hardware shop, you know. And he said to me and my sister, there's some money, go get yourself some Christmas presents. Okay. So we did. I remember getting a torch. I cannot remember what my sister got, but that was our Christmas, and that was our Christmas presents. Wasn't a very good year, to be fair. I mean, it wasn't a very good year anyway, you know, and I'm playing that down a bit. But anyway, that was that Christmas. But I guess previous to that, Christmases had been quite traditional, you know. I don't remember anything about having a big Christmas dinner. I'm sure we did. I think my two older brothers, they were fishermen, and I think they would treat me, my sister and my brother, the younger three of the family, maybe with £0.50, or maybe 2 bob, as it were, 2 shillings. I have a memory of that, particularly from my older brother Kenny. He passed away some years ago. But anyway, I have a memory of that. So, yeah, I'm sure I have a memory of that. You know what I say? Memories are only as old as the last time you recalled them. So memories can change for you, and you miss details, you know. Some years ago, I think I mentioned at some point in these, I sat down and wrote my memories from the youngest memory I had up to being 16, and I wrote everything down because it was quite, in my mind, quite complicated, and it turned out it was quite complicated. But I wrote it all down. I went over and over it because the timelines, they didn't always make sense. But as I wrote it down and Cheryl read them, she said, well, look, you've got your dates slightly wrong, and that means that was wrong. So that was, it took a lot of doing, 180,000 words I wrote. And then I was able to edit that down to, I think, around 90,000 words. It wasn't for publishing. I just wanted to write it down, you know, and get it down on paper. Anyway, Christmas memories. The street was the same where I grew up. Everybody was the same, bar 1 or 2 of them who had a stable family, money coming in, or however it works for different people. Yeah. But generally speaking, unless I can think of some more as I'm chatting to you, they're the sort of memories that I have for, you know, Christmas. The other thing was, the household did get fruit. My mum used to buy fruit and some nuts, fruit and nuts. Again, very traditional, isn't it? Yeah. So very traditional Christmases, as I recall. It was just, I guess, for Mum, there was no money. And my daddy, you see, he had 2 families. He had, obviously, me and my younger sister, and then he had his own family, and I think there were 7 of them. And my mum had me and my sister plus 4 other children. And although my mum did work, she worked as a cleaner. This is what I'm told by my older sister. She worked as a cleaner. 100% she was a school dinner lady, because she was the school dinner lady at the school where I went. She did something else. And she was a land girl, but that was well before I came along. I think she was 15 and she was a land girl, you know, in the war was on. So she did work, God bless her, good grief. And she, I think I've said before, our house was as basic as you like, 2 up, 2 down, this bit of a kitchen in a backyard. But it was spotless. She kept the place spotless. It was, I'm told it was something that, you know, like an OCD. It wasn't. I don't think it was an OCD. I think she just had to keep the place spotlessly clean. She had to find a house for her and me and my younger sister on her own. And this was 1950, well, call it 1960. I was born in 1959. And of course, she would have had very little money, and I was a baby, and then my younger sister came along, so 2 children a year between us. The only house she could rent, and I know it was rented because we used to hide behind the settee when the rent man knocked on the door, but anyway. The bottom half of the house had been smoke damaged. I think they must have had a fire in the chimney, something like that. And that was the only house that she could get. This is what I'm told by my older sister. She scrubbed it clean, whitewashed the walls, and moved in. You know, and it might have been furnished. I don't know that. Although, I guess people still do hand furniture around the family, don't they? There might have been a bit of that going on. Yeah. Right, I'm going to have a cuppa and I'll come back to you. Forgot to mention Christmas cards. Yep, we got those. They were always hung, 2 drawing pins, string, and then hung everywhere, you know. Because we used to make them at school, as I think I mentioned, and put the glitter on. Yeah, that was always nice to see. The house was decorated, or at least, excuse me, the parlour was decorated, you know, so you knew it was Christmas. Of course you did, you know. I think there was more went on at school than anything else with regards to Christmas, and I guess that was the same everywhere. I mean, I guess you did the same. You made stuff at school for Christmas, whether it was cards or making something for your mum or whatever it might have been. But school was a big centre in infants for Christmas. You know, school assemblies were Christmas themed, you know. Carols would be sung. We would get carol singers at the front door, of course we would. I remember that as children, not many, but I remember that. But mostly I think, other than opening your presents Christmas morning, then, you know, trying to get out the way all day, as it were, with your presents, if you got a football or a bike or whatever lasses you used to get. Yeah, that was sort of Christmas. But at school, you could have 4 or 5 weeks of Christmas. That was great, wasn't it? And I think There was also a Christmas dinner at school, you know. I have a memory of that. Remembering my mum was a dinner lady, I think I mentioned that, I did. She used to bring home the leftovers, if you like, come in big trays, steel trays. And they would come home with hare to feed us. So we were at school Christmas dinner, at school for dinner time, quite often on a night when you got home, that's what you had for your tea. It was good because it was good food, you know, it was proper food. Yeah. So, after 11 years old, Christmas just seemed to stop, you know. Apart from my dad taking us to the hardware shop, me and my sister giving us a bit of money and saying, get yourself a Christmas present, I don't remember any Christmases after that between then and, say, 15. And I think it was because we didn't. I don't think we bothered. We might well have done, and maybe I've just no memory of it, but I can't remember anything. I can't remember getting anything I was going to say, I can't remember getting anything for Christmas. It didn't matter because by that time, of course, teenage years and Christmas that way, that magic of Christmas was finished with. So it's, you know, it was no big deal. But I don't remember anything about Christmas at all. No trimmings, nothing. No, maybe my sister can. But teenage years are different anyway, aren't they? You know. Yeah. And you know, I don't have many more memories than what I've mentioned about Christmas. You know, I don't. It was traditional that whatever you got for Christmas, you went out and played. Whatever the weather was. If it was cold enough, you'd put a jacket on, you know, if it was snowing. And gloves were socks. Pull your socks on for gloves. There was a big snowy year, I think it was 64. And I do remember, even though I mean maybe 5 years old, playing out in that for all day, you know. You'd come in and try and get warm, but you'd get chilblains, as it used to be called. Yeah, but again, Christmas Day, what I was leading to was if, you know, you went out to play and there was the odd kid or two with a new bike that they'd got for Christmas, or maybe roller skates, certainly football, you know. Lassies, I guess, with dolls, or pram. You remember Tansides? I wonder why they called them Tanside. Do you know? Pram. Whether it was a doll's pram or a full pram, as it were, a kid's pram. Why do they call them Tansides? I don't know. It's just come to mind that I've mentioned it. I don't know why they call them Tansides. Yeah. Anyway, so very traditional in that way. There was something, you know, teenage years. Christmas television. By then, let's say 13, maybe 14, age 14 onwards. So where are we now? I was born 59, 69 was 10. So in the early 1970s, my dad had, you know, maybe got a better job or something, whatever it was. We had quite a nice furnished house, still 2 up, 2 down, and in the same type of area. But I remember having a coloured television. So, television at Christmas became very important. Morecambe and Wise. Now, we didn't miss Morecambe and Wise every Saturday night anyway, you know, but their Christmas specials, even me in teenage years, fantastic. So as Morecambe and Wise, always used to watch that. Top of the Pops, of course, always watched that, waiting for my two favourite bands from that time. One was T-Rex and Mark Bolan, and the other one was Slade. So those two bands, Noddy Alder and Slade, Mark Bolan and T-Rex. Yeah, so Christmas television, and there used to be Christmas specials. I'll tell you what I used to like, and this brings me to a point. I'm glad you mentioned it. I'm glad you reminded me. So, Christmas television in the morning, always used to watch the children, the kids in hospital, open the Christmas presents. Do you remember that? I don't know who presented it. It might be somebody like Michael Aspel. It'll be different in America, Australia, South Africa, etc. Arizona. And did you ever get a white Christmas in Arizona? Can you let me know? I know you would have done because you told me there were mountains. But ordinarily, did you ever get snow? Anyway, so yeah, the BBC, which is spoilt itself recently. I'm not going to go into all of that, not at Christmas, but anyway. They used to take a crew and used to visit local hospitals to where they were. And the children in hospital used to get a present and they'd open it. And I used to love watching that. I was a teenager, I wasn't a kid. I was a teenager, all grown up and everything. But yeah, you could watch it. I really used to enjoy that, watching that. And then there was nothing on most of the morning. And then in the afternoon, it was the Queen's speech. Even then, I used to watch the Queen's speech. I don't know why, traditional, I suppose, But Queen's speech. And then early evening, Top of the Pops, then Morecambe and Wise. After that, there was a film, The Sound of Music. Seems to be every year, didn't it? Sound of Music. Disney was rarely on the television, rare back in those days. They did have something, Disney Time. Do you remember Disney Time? But it wasn't on for very long. A half an hour programme, that was it, that was your lot. You might have got more of Disney in America. Evening, no, as I say, I think the night finished with Morecambe and Wise, Eric Morecambe and Ernie Wise. If you are in Arizona, you might not know who they are, but think of Abbott and Costello, Dean Martin and Jerry Lewis. Kind of like that, but British. Poor suits, bad teeth, not very glamorous. Actually, Morecambe and Wise was good. They had a lot of glamour, some big sets, big musical sets. Very funny. Eric Morecambe, and still today I will still watch him at Christmas. The other thing I watch at Christmas, don't let me forget this point that I'm going to make. I can't remember when I first watched the film. What was it called? It was with Marilyn Monroe, Jack Lemmon, and Tony Curtis. Some Like It Hot, with Billy Wilder, who was directing. It was in black and white, it still is, of course. Now, this is an odd thing, maybe a bit of OCD, I don't know, but I have watched that film every Christmas forever. No, not forever, but certainly I think when I got in my 20s I first watched it, and I've watched it every year since. To me it's one of those points of Christmas, a bit like Die Hard. Gotta watch Die Hard, which I do. But Some Like It Hot, Marilyn Monroe, that one. Bing Crosby, not so much. You know, White Christmas, Bing Crosby, not so much. But I'll watch it if it's on. Cheryl likes that film. And anything with Doris Day. You know, perhaps television was more important than I remembered, particularly in my teens and particularly at Christmas. But it did come to mind. Right. I've remembered what it was that I wanted to tell you. So, whenever this goes out, and I think it will be this Monday coming, so it's the 9th today, so whenever the Monday is, it's coming up, you do the maths. Right. Yeah. So if you're watching this, and we'll try and also mention this on the main video that's going to come out the following Sunday, but you'll be able to watch it as Christmas Day. And that's what reminded me, was that I used to watch the kids in hospital open the presents. We're actually going to film Christmas morning, open our presents, have a bit of a Christmas morning, and then I'm going to quickly edit it. Cheryl will upload it, and so that by probably, I'm hoping 2 o'clock, so you don't miss the King's speech, if you watch the King's speech. Yeah, if we can get Christmas Day video out, then we will do actually on Christmas Day, rather than the next day and it's Boxing Day and everybody's fed up and arguing. Yeah, I don't mean arguing, but you know what I mean. Yeah, so just make a note of that if you want to see us Christmas Day, and why wouldn't you, you know? Yeah, we're going to make a video for Christmas Day and put it out. We'll open our presents. Willow, our mad whippet, will open it as best she can, you know. We won't be eating or anything, but yeah, we'll be chatting, that sort of thing. So we want to get that done Christmas Day. And then if you want to watch it, you can. I think that'd be quite nice. Do you? I don't know. Is that all right? Can you let us know what you think? I thought it was, you know, when it popped in my head, I thought, that's a really good idea. You know, like you do. I think it's a good idea. Anyway, just let us know. And also tell us about, I am interested, genuinely, what sort of Christmases you had. Just let us know. You know, if you got a diamond-studded car for Christmas when you was 8 years old, great, let us know. But if you got, you know, a second-hand toothbrush and some orange peel and a piece of Coke, let us know that as well. Or coal, we used to call it. Let us know that as well, you know. I do like reading them about the following, so I always type to respond, but I really do enjoy reading them. Right, I'm going to let you get on. There's a bit of a mic on Monday, wasn't it? A few Christmas memories. If I remember any more, I might bring them up on Christmas Day when I speak to you. Other than that, that's me done. So, be safe. It's Christmas, don't forget. You want to get to Christmas Day and open your presents, don't you? Or at least telephone somebody and wish them happy Christmas, or email, whatever it is now, you know. Yeah, so be safe. Take care, and I'll see you on the next one. Bye for now.